Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is Montana This Morning on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good morning, everyone. It is 5:30 and it is Wednesday morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thanks for starting your day with Montana This Morning.
And I'm Ed McIntosh, as we're off and rolling on a couple of quiet days, and then there's some big changes in the forecast I got to tell you about when we get to the weekend.
And I know exactly what you're going to say, so just praise myself for it.
Yeah, I'm going to change it a little bit from what we talked about yesterday. I'm changing things up.
But
because I was wrong.
What?
Well, we'll go ahead and take a look.
Well, at least you're owning up to it.
Well, all right. Everybody would have called me on it anyway. 32 right now, and there's a few clouds around. A west wind at 16 miles an hour with a steady barometer. We're trying to find the moon because it's a super moon, and it's a blue moon, and it's a blood moon.
Super blue and bloody.
Yeah.
Interesting combination.
We'll talk more about that. But in the meantime, let's talk about weather just briefly. Temperatures in the 20s to low 30s across the region. So it's actually fairly mild to get started today. And across the state, we're seeing the same thing. You see some showers over in western Montana. We have some travel concerns around Missoula for today. But the clouds around, there's enough of them to hold back. So we're not getting such a great picture of the moon. But it is a mild start, even in northeastern Montana, where we've had some colder temperatures. And the winds aren't as big a deal as they have been over the last few days. It's still breezy, and it's making it feel colder from Livingston, Billings out towards Miles City, where you have sustained winds of 20 miles an hour, but lighter winds through northern Wyoming. For the Billings area, we'll look for a mix of clouds and sunshine today. Will be a little breezy at times, and we have a chance of picking up a snow shower. But we'll talk more about that and the significant chance of snow as we look out to the Armstrong Flight Research Centers at Edwards Air Force Base over in California. I only know that because I just looked. And we're watching the beginnings of the lunar eclipse.
And what I'm curious, you know, there was the solar eclipse last year, and it all had all sorts of effects on people and animals. Do you think?
Yeah, the lunar eclipse is just kind of fun to watch. I mean, a solar eclipse is, you know, when the moon is between the Earth and the sun, and now we're between the moon and the sun. So we're casting our shadow on the moon.
So we're going to give the moon a migraine. The moon's not going to give us a migraine.
That's right.
Got it. Yeah. Just wanted to make that clear. And I like that it's so close to the Super Bowl, too. Would have been cool if there was a super moon on the day of the Super Bowl.
Oh, well.
Whoa. Just days away. Close enough. Mind blown.
Yeah.
All right. Well, enough about that. We're going to talk more about it, actually, coming up in a few minutes. But for now, I'll get to the news.
Okay. Thanks.
In his first State of the Union address, President Donald Trump called for unity and struck a tone as he laid out his plan for the coming years. Among the topics, he dove a bit deeper into immigration. His stance on that may very well dictate whether the government will face the threat of another shutdown next week. CBS's Hina Doba is on Capitol Hill with more on the president's speech and the Democratic response.
The state of our union is strong, because our people are strong.
President Trump, in his first State of the Union address, touted all of the areas he sees as successes since Inauguration Day. Job creation, stock market gains, tax cuts. The hot button issue, though, that could bring the government towards the brink of another shutdown in about a week: immigration.
Tonight, I am extending an open hand to work with members of both parties.
As expected, Mr. Trump called for the construction of a southern border wall, an end to visa lotteries, and family-based immigration. In exchange, he offered a path to citizenship for 1.8 million illegal immigrants brought here as children.
Under our plan, those who meet education and work requirements and show good moral character will be able to become full citizens of the United States.
In their official response, Democrats, through Massachusetts Representative Joe Kennedy III, told DACA Dreamers, quote, "We will fight for you." He then went after the divisiveness of the Trump administration's first year.
Bullies may land a punch. They may leave a mark. But they have never, not once in the history of our United States, managed to match the strength and spirit of a people united in defense of their future.
On an issue both sides applauded, President Trump called for a $1.5 trillion infrastructure spending plan, though he did not talk much of where that money would come from. Hina Doba, CBS News, Washington.
And the president also announced that just before delivering the address, he signed an executive order that reverses an Obama administration policy by keeping the military prison at Guantanamo Bay open. Continuing our coverage, the suspect in last week's shooting death near Miles City says he shot the victim 18 times after she fired first. 21-year-old Travis Doss is charged in Custer County Justice Court with 1 count of deliberate homicide for the murder of 21-year-old Shania Raymond. Doss was arrested Thursday after he called 911 to report he shot Raymond to death. Doss said he and Raymond were arguing before he grabbed his gun and then went outside the house to relieve himself. While he was outside, Doss claims Raymond fired 3 shots at him. Doss said he returned fire, shooting Raymond 18 times. Law enforcement arrived to find Raymond dead and Doss with a minor head wound. The sheriff could not confirm whether Raymond fired a gun and tells Q2 the nature of Doss's injury is under investigation. Doss is being held on a $500,000 bond. From the courthouse, a 23-year-old victim told jurors she was physically and emotionally abused by an alleged pimp to keep her in line. 35-year-old Terrence Edwards is on trial in U.S. District Court in Billings. He's accused of trafficking women and children in Montana and faces 10 prostitution-related charges. Attorneys for Edwards claim he operated a perfectly legal escort service, but on Tuesday, one woman testified that Edwards manipulated her and sent her out on sex dates with strangers to make money. The woman said Edwards threatened to kill her and burn her house down if she didn't cooperate. Jurors listened in as the woman described being punched, slapped, and degraded by Edwards. One day, the woman had enough of the abuse and fled. The trial is expected to last through next week, and Edwards plans to testify in his own defense. We now know the name of the woman who was killed in a crash late Monday night in Rosebud County. She was 33-year-old Nikki Kennedy of Forsyth. Kennedy was traveling with a 1-year-old infant who was not injured in the crash. Troopers said Kennedy was not wearing a seatbelt, was ejected from the vehicle, and pronounced dead at the scene. The crash was reported just before 11 p.m. Monday on Highway 39 near mile marker 21. And in Billings, a man killed Monday night in a crash on the South Frontage Road has been identified as 33-year-old Douglas DeWitts Jr. of Billings. DeWitts died when his sedan was struck by a semi-truck near the Zoo Drive exit on I-90. The semi was heading west on South Frontage Road when it struck DeWitts' car. The semi then went through the ditch and ended up in the eastbound lane of the interstate. We're told DeWitts was wearing a seatbelt and died from multiple blunt force trauma. Neither drugs nor alcohol are suspected in the crash. In state news, 2017 was a year of reasonably good wage growth and continued gains in employment for all of Montana. And here in Yellowstone County, the economy is churning at an even stronger pace. During Tuesday's Economic Outlook Summit at Billings, the U of M Bureau of Business offered details on the various sectors of the state's economy. The highlights included growth in healthcare due to Medicaid expansion, but a decline in key industries in Yellowstone County, particularly in retail and wholesale, resulted in less construction growth. The 2014 slowdown in the Bakken also hampered Billings, but a lack of projects at the refineries last year skews the data.
I think some of the decline we're seeing in the data in Yellowstone County is due to those kinds of one-time factors. I think the underlying strength of the Yellowstone economy is stronger than the data suggests. I think the outlook for Yellowstone County is not quite as bright as what's happening in some of the high-flying parts of the state, particularly Bozeman, and even now Missoula is actually picking up growth. But I think growth is going to be considerably better this year than it was last year.
Montana agriculture continues to suffer due to a glut in grain, lower cattle prices, and 2017's drought and wildfires. Meanwhile, residential and business customers of Northwestern Energy will see a reduction in rates thanks to a change in policy at the Montana Public Service Commission. The PSC voted this week to change how Northwestern Energy passes its property tax costs onto its customers. State law allows Northwestern to automatically increase residential and commercial service rates to account for its property tax expenses. But because the PSC found that Northwestern made an error in how that tax expense is shared among its customers, the utility was ordered to adjust its rates accordingly. That change will result in a cost savings of nearly $3.5 million. That amounts to just over $1.50 a year for the average residential customer.
Even though for an average residential consumer, it's a small figure, this is a change that will recur year on year on year. In terms of a policy change, it may have a lot more consequential impact than the dollars and cents that we're seeing right now.
The PSC voted to apply its new policy for the 2017 tax year instead of 2018. In other news, the ACLU of Montana filed a lawsuit Tuesday to allow certain types of nurses to perform abortions in Montana. The ACLU says the suit seeks to expand access to abortion across the state. The suit asks the state judge to strike down a Montana law that allows only physicians and physician assistants to perform abortions. It argues that advanced nurse practitioners and nurse midwives can provide abortion safely and should be allowed to do so. Attorney General Tim Fox is the main defendant named in the lawsuit. His office says it will review the suit and respond accordingly. ACLU Executive Director Caitlin Borgman says the suit is about making a legal service more available in Montana.
So out of our 56 counties, only 7% of Montana counties have an abortion provider. 93% lack any abortion provider. Some Montanans have to travel more than 150 miles to reach an abortion provider. So what this would do would be to expand the pool of qualified healthcare providers who can safely provide abortions under Montana law, which improves access.
And the suit would also help the soon to reopen All Families Healthcare Clinic in Whitefish. The clinic was the only abortion provider in the Flathead Valley and shut down when it was destroyed by vandalism in 2014. Its doors are set to reopen next month. Elsewhere, the Department of Health and Human Services has made changes to Montana's medical marijuana industry with new administrative rules. The revisions were met with positive reaction among providers, some calling it a great day for the industry while expressing the need for more change. In the latest changes, the state adds mandatory testing again. License costs for providers with 11 to 49 patients are lowered to $2,500. The state health department also outlines new rules for labeling marijuana items. And patients can be minors and can now have a provider, but their parents or guardian must make the purchases. And last, before we take a break, we do have to wait until Sunday to find out who will be this year's Super Bowl champs, but Ozzie the Bear at Zoo Montana says it will be the Philadelphia Eagles. If he's right, Ozzie will have a 5-1 prediction record. This was his first time, though, picking a team on the NFC. Initially, his decision wasn't clear, but after whipped cream, marshmallows, and strawberries were added to the top of the cakes, Ozzie chose the underdog. The Grizzly cakes are a mixture of banana, Nutella, marshmallow cream, pepperoni treats, and pecans. And not to worry, Bruno, Ozzie's fellow Grizzly, did get his own cake after the main event. Thank you so much for starting your day with us here on Montana This Morning. Coming up, now that the employee who triggered a false missile warning in Hawaii is fired, we're learning that he thought it was real. It's 31 degrees in downtown Billings, and the time is now 5:42. But stick around. Ed has the forecast.
You're watching MTN News with Victoria Hill and Storm Tracker weather with Ed McIntosh. This is Montana This Morning on Q2, Montana's news leader.